I like Tableau. When they came out with those and we could get information right off, I thought it was easy to get to.
I'm happy to have the information. I think it's really useful. If we have a question, we can quickly look up the data on the dashboard, and it's really kind of helpful, and it's right there in front of you.
The amount of transparency that's been afforded us is pretty phenomenal, and I'm just really happy about the opportunity. It's also a little scary in some regards too, to be able to look at your own classroom information and to see how students are progressing through your class by demographics.
In the past, I might have had a question about, how my students were doing after they left my class, and there wasn't really any way for me to know, because I guess I could call, Carly and Eric and IR, but I would never do that. I just wouldn't bother them. I just let the question go. One of the questions I had in my mind was whether or not students who have already succeeded in an online course do better in subsequent online courses, or more likely to succeed in subsequent courses. And at the time that I had this question, I didn't realize that that's actually already been confirmed in the literature. I was like, oh, I've got this exciting new idea. But that was cool. I just went out and checked it in the dashboards.
I've been using the dashboard to see what the different rates of grades are within my classes, and to see if I feel those are appropriate, and then also within the department to see what the disparities are between teachers and see if that's reason for discussion, reason for concern.
I'm looking for specific patterns in students' progress and what that might mean for any tweaks I might make in instruction.
What I use them for is exclusively to look at my own personal data. And the questions I guess I'm asking really are, how is my rigor, how is my success, and how are students doing the next quarter?
There were two instances where we used the dashboard. The first was when we were reviewing the performance of our department, and we were curious about how many of our students were coming in pre-college, and then how their performance compared to students who weren't pre-college in any subject areas. And the second way that I used the dashboards was as part of Achieving the Dream, looking at the performance of STEM students, and were there any students where we had inequities, and was there anything that we could do about this to help those students?
There's two primary questions that I look at. One is, how are my students doing, and how does that change over the course of quarters? So you start to see the variation that exists from one quarter to the next, and if you're teaching the same way, then it just helps inform you what that variation is. I got comfortable real quick, and I'm still comfortable with anybody being able to see how we're doing.
It never really bothered me, and it continues to not bother me. Nothing unnerving has happened, but I know that that's not everybody's opinion or experience. We've all come to learn that it's about helping students rather than victimizing a particular member of faculty, that people in general have grown more and more comfortable with using the data.
Having that data available, it's easier to make a compelling case for why certain things need to change. So I'm very comfortable with it at that level.
At first I was really nervous about it, and we talk about a culture of evidence, and I thought, is this a culture of evidence or is it a culture of surveillance? And I was very nervous about it. As an exclusive indicator, it would be a problem, but that's not how we're using them.
I used to keep track of my own data, my own pass rate data, and at the end of every quarter I would put it together and run the statistics on it because I teach stats, so I like doing that stuff. But since Tableau came out, I quit doing it myself, and I can just go to their website and do it. The other thing is to get how students do in a follow-up class was really difficult for me to do on my own.
I think it's a remarkable research tool, and like a lot of tools, it can be used well or poorly. It enables us to raise some questions that I wonder sometimes if we're prepared to talk about. I would rather have the information than not. And so I think it's a very useful tool and frankly quite clever. I think it's an impressive piece that got put together.
For me, I like talking about the why behind the data as well. You know, why aren't our students doing well, and why are some doing better than others, and what are some of the hiccups that our students are having, you know, even when we're looking at the data. So I think all of it paints just a clear picture for us so that we can really walk alongside students and help them as needed.